39. And 35 was the cut-off age.
Yeah.
You know, 35 was 36, you know, and 35 was the cut-off age for applications, for new applications. So he was telling me how disappointed he was. He had gone to apply for this job, and I asked him about the job. He said, it's a traffic officer job for the management areas, you know, the good old management areas. And I said, where did you apply? He said, City Cape Town, City of Cape Town. I asked him for information. He gave me Mr. Eppeline's phone number. And I phoned Mr. Eppeline and I made an appointment, and I went to see Mr. Eppeline, and Mr. Eppeline called me in for an interview. And that interview was actually quite nice. I mean, from day one, from the very first moment that he spoke to me, he seemed to he seemed to be impressed with me. I don't know where it comes from, but Eppeline just seemed to, I could see he was sort of willing that I'll be accepted. You know, look, I got that feeling that he was willing that I would be accepted. And I mean, it was a very simple, basic interview, because it was not the interview. It was just a matter of confirming whether I'll be suitable, you know. So the age and my physique and things like that.
But I think it's got to do with your height, and you're involved in sport.
That too. Well, no, that stage he didn't know this. He didn't know about the sport.
Oh,
he didn't know
okay.
about anything, because this was just a basic initial interview. You know,
okay.
To have a look at you to see whether you know, whether you're going to fit the profile. So then we had to go in for the interview at City Hall, and there was this big crowd of people, uniform and council officials, and I think the traffic manager was there. He might have been there, I don't know, because I've never known the traffic manager. So they were questioning me, and I had on my pioneer badge, and then one of them asked me, I think it was Bento, who asked me, what is that badge? You know, what I see, you've got this badge, or what's that badge? It looks like a religious badge, you know? So I said, no, it's a Pioneer Total Abstinence Association. It's an association we praise for people who drink excessively. It's also to try and, as an example, by not drinking, to discourage others from drinking too much, understand? It's not an anti-drink campaign or anything of that nature. It's just an attempt to help people to control their drinking. So if I'm at a function, for example, and you like drinking, and you're going to offer me a drink, and I say, no, I'm not going to have a drink, you might be encouraged not to have an extra drink, you know. That is how it's supposed to work. So they were ragging each other there, you know, you need this, such a thing, you need such a thing. And that just blew my interview, because there was no further, you know, no difficult questions. Then they asked me about my lifestyle, about what I do, and I said, well, I'm a soccer referee. And, a soccer referee. So Cape Town City was my city council.
Oh, yes.
Cape Town City was city council. I wasn't a referee in Cape Town City, I was Cape Town Spurs and those people, General and those people. But, so that also took them away from the interview. So I never actually, nobody asked me why I want to be a traffic officer, you know. Why I would want to join the force. Nobody asked me those types of questions. And then we left, and then of course then they had the second interview, which was also at the City Hall. But that was now the final selection interview.
Oh, yes.
It was the final selection, and so I was sitting in this little waiting room. And we were really treated like rubbish, you know. Honestly, if I think of the little place that we were stuck in, there must have been about 30 of us. Because they only needed 12, but I think there was about 30 of us stuck in this little room, you know. And now, I don't know if Fred and Lionel knew each other, but they were both from retreat, and the two of them were now chatting there, you know. Yeah, Fred was saying, to Lionel, that is October's. Now, I don't know what the heck October is, that's October's son. He's going to be in. That is this one, and that is that one. So they counted of 12 names, and they didn't include me. But they obviously didn't know me. I mean, I was a total stranger there. And the other one, that one, I actually started feeling despondent and listening to this guy.
Oh, yes.
Because they didn't include themselves either. Neither of them were included. I thought, wow, that guy's a traffic officer, so he won't get in. That was, I forget his name now. He was selected, but he failed because he was wearing specs and didn't declare it.
Were they very strict that time?
Yeah, they were strict on our station. He didn't declare that he was wearing specs.
Oh, just because he didn't declare he was...
Didn't declare, yes.
Oh, and
He
they found
came
out
without
afterwards.
specs. He came to everything without specs.
Okay.
You understand? So he didn't declare it. That was the reason we didn't accept him. I forget, you know,
Stevens, yes.
Stevens.
He eventually joined the divisional council.
No, he was a provincial officer.
Oh, provincial.
He was a but then he joined the divisional council after that. But he
okay.
was a provincial officer at the time. And now I'm sitting there thinking, am I wasting my time here now? Anyhow, I'm just hanging there. And then we all had to wait. After our interview, we all had to wait because they were going to tell us who was selected. And Stevens came out and he left. And then they read out the 12 names. And it was, you know, and they said that, and Stevens' name was also up, and of course was Fred Wellman, was Michael Jeff, and a couple of others. I mean, we eventually knew who they were. So, David Kipper, I still remember, yes, David Kipper was in uniform. He was
a meter reader.
Meter reader,
yes.
A meter or something. He was in a uniform there. Quite a few of them. So it was sort of a balance of employees and
outsiders.
Outsiders.
And from there, when you started at the college in Ottery?
Then we went to Ottery. Yes. In the college in Ottery, we were all our students. There were a lot of country students there that stayed in the hostel. Yes. So we were all out there. And of course we met with Mr. Benskin and Mr. Rhodes and Mr. Jonathan. That was the first meeting. And then I learned that Jonathan was Dan Jonathan's brother. And he used to wear a long coat. And we used to call him a lang jas. I think it was a standard coat and he was too short for it. You know? We called him lang jas. That was Basil Wolmaran's name for him. And okay, then the training was very nice. It was good. We felt comfortable. You know, the lecturers were good. The lecturers were accommodating. They were understanding. They treated us well. You know, we didn't feel except Dancy. He was always performing. You know, he was always performing. He was now the accident expert. So he did accident reporting and things like that to us. But he was a real show-off. He was out of his depth, I think. But otherwise, we got on well. He had a sense of humor. You know, it was quite funny with you and Basil and Desmond Tureen, who couldn't march properly. You always in the opposite direction, and he had the three of you holding broomsticks and helping each other along. In spite of all that effort, I still remember on the day of that topic, as we passed out of Basil, but both arms swinging to correct his diploma, but then that's not the other thing. Then we had quite a bit of problems with Rhodes, man. Rhodes was not a very good lecturer because Rhodes was very boring. He had a very boring talk. And what more was, he was giving us notes to write down. And he was reading notes from his notebook. All he needed to do was make copies of the darn notes and give it to us. So we had to write down the notes as he was reading it. It was terribly boring, but then after a while we actually learned about, what could have been the cause of it. Because his son had an accident and it actually killed him. He was actually killed with a gunshot in the head. And so we became a bit more sympathetic towards him and we understood. Benskin was a show-off. He was now a principal officer in the provincial. He was a real show-off, but he was a nice show-off. He didn't, he used to temper his bragging with his but he always bragged about us, the Cape Town guys. Because we were just,
stood out.
You were there. We were really outstanding. We were really a cream of the crop, as it were. And he was very impressed with us, very, very supportive of us. You know, he used to hold us up a lot as examples and so on. But then we came to the passing up parade. From time to time we were visited by our senior inspector. He was Mr. Dodds, and his assistant was Mr. Bento. And poor Dodds had quite a problem with Bernie Peterson. Bernie Peterson was a very poor student. He wasn't doing very well. But for some reason, somehow he passed. I mean, he applied himself and he passed. But he was really a very poor student right up to the final. He didn't think they were going to actually include him. But when he got through the final, that was good. And then on the day of the parade, we now met our traffic manager for the first time. But it was a non-event, you know. A non-event. He looked at us as if we were balls of crap standing there. He didn't even greet us. He didn't acknowledge us in any way. And what was his name?
Was it Pat Melly? No, not Pat
No,
Melly.
not Melly.
No,